Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So we're going to start with the Los Angeles Clippers. So this is the Los Angeles Clippers exit interview. If you're watching on YouTube, let us know how you felt about their season, what you think they need to do in the offseason. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So the Clippers finished 42-40 this year. They were ninth in the Western Conference. They lost a play-in game to the Golden State Warriors. They were up 13 down the stretch and kind of fizzled out. Remember, Draymond Green played just great defense on Kawhi Leonard. Let's start with some pros on the season for the Clippers. Give me your first pro for the Clippers this season.
I think for the Clippers, it has to be they got a healthy Kawhi Leonard for most of the year. And, he's always looked good when healthy, but the last couple of years, he had that Nugget series before he got hurt where he was just altering the series. But for the most part this season, Kawhi played. He looked good. He was highly impactful. So I think for the Clippers, whether you decide to keep down this path with Kawhi or potentially move him, being able to see that is definitely a positive.
Agreed. 65 games, 28 points a game, 3 assists, and 6 rebounds. So this was probably some of the better numbers he has put up since coming to the Clippers. So, yeah, great year for him. My first pro is the Darius Garland trade. I just think when I'm a big Kawhi guy. I should actually put his jersey on. I have like 2 or 3 of his jerseys. I totally, if I remembered, I would have put it on, but I didn't. Anyway, I just like when they traded for Harden, I was just not a big fan of the trade because of the way Harden likes to play basketball. I just don't think that is, good for long-term winning. And then they were able to kind of get younger with Garland. Now Garland has injury issues, but when he did play this year, he looked good for the Clippers. He's younger, and it's not like he can't be moved again if you feel like we'll talk probably about this, but where they're drafting, it is potential where they also could move on from him again if they needed to. But either way, I think it's, in my opinion, an upgrade to go from Harden to Garland. So that's a pro for me.
Yep, that was my second one as well. Just being able to cash out on James Harden with a younger guy. Like you said, he has question marks. We saw in Cleveland their size issues, defensive issues, especially in the West. But to get 10 years younger, and as you said, give yourself flexibility that, especially with the new tanking measures, if there's some teams that just want to be better and you want to get off of that money, even if you don't get a whole lot back, I think it's much easier with Garland than it would be for Harden.
Agreed. You got another pro?
I just put cashing in on Zubac.
Yeah.
He was really good for them for a couple of years. Last year was, and this year kind of started out in that direction. I just think a guy like that who has a specific skill set with his rebounding, his skill, setting screens around the hoop, he's really good. Sometimes that can kind of go on you fast when you're not an athletic guy, and there's certain matchups that could play difficulty. But to get what turned out to be the 5th pick of this year, and I think it's a 2029 unprotected pick as well. You got Mathurin. I guess that could go to a Connors. That didn't really turn out, but be able to cash in with what ended up being the 5th pick and a really good draft for a team low on assets, I think is a win, even though I know he's kind of like a fan favorite.
Yeah, I always liked watching Zoo, but you're right. It's like you got like the highest type of value you'll get on a guy like that, right? So that's a win. And even like the Mathurin part of it, I didn't mind it because again, they're getting younger. So it's like, okay, let's get this young guy who's like a fire and offense, and we'll see if anything's there. If we don't want to keep him, we don't have to keep him. Either way, it works out. But definitely landing the 5th pick, and this is where we talk about like being now a little bit more flexible with what they can do moving forward. Is like it sounds like 5 through 9 are all guards is in the draft is what people are saying. So, you can move off of Garland now. You can reset your entire team, whatever you want to do. Maybe you keep Garland for a year or two while you get the other guy acclimated into the NBA, whatever you want to do. But that fifth pick was a total win from them and a really good, what's it called? A risk that paid off for them and didn't pay off for the other team that much.
For sure. And I always think with the fifth pick, if you got two or three guys that you think are about the same and someone prefers one to another, especially a team like the Clippers, low on assets, if the ability to move from 5 to 8, if the Hawks really like someone or so on, and so it just opens doors to have flexibility.
Right, and I think there's like the Kings are reportedly really into one of the guards. I don't remember which one. Does Buffkin sound right or no? That
Acuff
Acuff.
is,
That's it. That's
yeah,
it. Acuff. Yeah, they're really big on Acuff. The sounds of it. So who knows? They might be willing to trade. And it's not like the Kings are known for winning trades. So you might be able to get some there. Any other pros?
um, I mean, they finished the season strong minus the play-in game, but I guess that kind of touches on the cons.
Yeah, yeah. I did write Jordan Miller and Kobe Sanders as pros. I think Sanders is a rookie, right? Yes, he's 23, and he like shot the ball real well. He got an immediate role in the team, and I think that's a good, again, a younger guy that you can play moving forward that will have a role in this team. He might not be a starter, he may be a bench player, whatever he ends up being. That's good. Jordan Miller also had a big role. He's a little older, I think, though. So it's not that big of a deal if he's 29 coming off the bench. It's fine. But I just think where the Clippers limitations where they can find any players to fill roles or any type of asset, that's awesome. So I put that as a pro too, Jordan Miller and Kobe Sanders.
It's always good to see your young guys do something at least.
Right, correct. Yeah. Okay, give me your cons. One con.
Yeah, I just think the start of the season, we had high hopes for, I shouldn't say higher hopes for this team, kind of the way they were built, kind of in the win now mode. And they had a horrendous start to the season, and it just looked uninterested. It looked discombobulated, and just to come out to start the season. Now, I guess I kind of mentioned with the pro, they turned it around, but
Yep.
they put themselves so far behind the 8 ball that you end up in a play-in game. You end up having to play maybe harder than you would have if you were able to bank some of those wins. I
Yep.
mean, even being a 500 or slightly below 500 team for that start, you bank 5, 6, 7, 8 extra wins, and down the stretch, maybe a few things go different.
Yeah, and instead of having to win two playing games, you couldn't win one. But let's say if you lost the first one, you still have a chance to redeem yourself with the second one. Like, yeah, you're right. That wasn't a good start. On top of it, I'd say the start of the season was a little rocky with the aspiration news. I don't know if are we going to get any penalty for that, you think, or is the NBA hoping that like slides under the rug a bit?
I mean, they've done a good job of kind of burying it. I
Hmm.
think it has to be addressed because it's kind of like disappeared with the tanking stuff and the draft coming up. But I think it's a big enough thing with other owners or general managers that they're going to have to at least come out with some kind of news or finding on it. But it for the Clippers' sake, it's been nice that it kind of just disappeared.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Like again, I've talked about this, but I think more teams probably do it than what we know in some form or fashion, circumventing the cap in some ways. I just think the Clippers were the ones that got caught, which is not good. But maybe that's why we don't see, like you said, there's some teams that are clamoring for it, but there's also like it's been oddly quiet too on the front of the teams as well. So it seems to me a little bit like, oh, these maybe more are implicated in doing something similar than we know, and it's kind of like trying to keep it under the rug. Anyway, what's another con for you?
I just thought like the John Collins thing really hasn't worked. And I know sometimes you kind of look at his numbers. Like as I was going through, he shot 40% from three like this year,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It's just not working. I think the idea of him when they put this team together with Collins and Kawhi and Derek Jones Jr., like maybe you have something, some flexibility, some shooting. but I don't know. I just think whatever happened after his last season with the Hawks, being like a truly impactful like difference maker, it's kind of just gone away, and his shooting has come back a little, but I don't know. I think the upside play that the Jazz were hoping for the same thing when they had him just kind of never really materialized.
Yeah, now correct me if I'm wrong. I thought he had a better like second half of the year than first. Is
Yeah.
that the case? Okay. Okay. So maybe like I agree that the overall experiment hasn't worked the way they wanted, but I do wonder if maybe they found something. We'll have to see going into next year, but who knows? They might also get off of him. Another thing they didn't find nothing of or it didn't work out the way they thought was the Bradley Beal thing. Now he's only being paid, I think I checked his contract this morning, it was like 5 million a year. So it's not like a total disgrace, but he only played like 6 games for them this year. And it's just like, what do you do with him next year? I think he has a player option next year, so we'll see what he does. But like, I don't know who's going to sign him anyway. So, that's just another con. The idea of bringing him onto the team, add some like maybe shooting and shot creation outside of Harden and Kawhi, and then he doesn't even play. Obviously, some of it's not his fault. Like injuries happen, but it's also a bummer as a team when you're like, what should we do moving forward? And it's also a bummer for him because like if he had a good year, there's a potential a team might pay a little bit more for him. But now I don't know if you're going to get more than the minimum anyway. So why not just stay? So that's another con on the season.
Yep. We're not huge Bradley Beal fans here, but nevertheless, 6 games out for the year. You're right, player option. Unless there's like a handshake deal or something here, you kind of lean towards he's probably going to pick that up, which
Yeah.
I guess at this point isn't the worst of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, before the season, we were talking about the Clippers and, all these guys bringing in Lopez, and we talked about Collins, and to add Bradley Beal, and we're like, I know this is an older team, but hey, we got some flexibility here. Did not work.
Yeah, I think Bradley Beal could be interesting though on a minimum on certain teams, like a low risk, high reward type thing. And even for the Clippers, it could be interesting. Although I don't think Bradley Beal is the kind of player the Clippers need to really contend with like the Spurs and the Thunder. But anyway, any other cons?
I mean, he was part of the trade, but like, you took a shot at Mathurin, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle. He seems like one of those like talented but oddly hard to fit players. And it was fine. I guess it's not really a con, but maybe if you were thinking we got a young guy here that maybe could be a part of something, and who knows, maybe he can, but it didn't look awesome for stretches when he was with the Clippers.
Yeah, he had that one game. What game was it? Was it there was a couple, and that's the thing I think with him is there's moments where you're just like, man, he is just there's something there, and then there's other moments where you're like, what are you doing, dude? He is 23 to be fair, so maybe like you said, there could end up being something there, but it's just again not what maybe if you were more on the optimistic half full side of things, like it's not where you wanted it to end on the season. Um, okay, any other cons?
No.
Okay, what would you have done differently this year if you were the Clippers?
So I think with what we just saw, yeah, I think the Clippers, they moved on from Zubac. They didn't have to do it during the season because you have an off season to do it. But I think you need to go down the path with like maybe at the deadline you could have worked something for Kawhi.
Mm.
It's hard to, like we said, by the time we got to the trade deadline, because the Clippers were playing really good, and there was a stretch like, wow, this team might like they might make some noise. But I think we see the limitations. Again, you're in the Western Conference. You're low on assets. I think with the way that season started, kind of like over before it started, even though they kind of turned it around. But we saw in the end what they were. And I just think teams, when you get to this point, me being a fan of one,
Yeah.
sometimes you just need to be like, look, it's ran its runway. What can we do to kind of go forward?
Yeah, I did. I wrote it down too. I said trade Kawhi total reset. That's the only thing I could think of. There wasn't much they could have done, but
Yeah.
like the one thing once they got rid of Harden and once they got rid of Zoo, it was like, why are we holding on to Kawhi? You know, and again in a draft lottery where the 10th and ninth seed jump up into the top four once in a while, it's like would have been better to not seed, but worst team, like the 10th worst team or the ninth worst team, will jump up into the top four. Sometimes it's like, why not get a couple more assets and well, they didn't have their pick. That's probably why. That's would be the answer, Ryan, to your question. So never mind that. But yeah, total reset. That's what I had to. So that's why I'm answering my own question in real time. So that's fun. Anything else you would have done different other than maybe trade Kawhi?
No, I mean, I think once they started going that they kind of pushed the right buttons, minus our opinion on moving Kawhi.
Yeah, correct. Okay, grade their season.
I gave them 2.5 stars. Like,
Hmm.
you know, they kind of, we were heading for a 1 star. They kind of brought it back. I think they got close to like average, but then you lose the playing game to the Warriors team that was not really much. But I think that's kind of inconsequential because they were going to get worn out by the Clippers or I mean the Spurs or the Thunder. Uh, but it was below what I think what even on a slightly negative scale I would have thought.
Yeah, I gave them three. I'm with you on the start of their season. I think why I jumped them up to the three though is I feel like with the Zoo trade, getting that fifth pick, the way that landed, and then the trading Harden for Garland, I just did enough for me to save their grade a little bit. So I gave them a three. Just what I expected, sort of. I was kind of looking at this here, Clippers. Yeah, we both had them a five seed in the West, so they did their record wise, they didn't do as good as we thought. So
I
maybe
mean,
I
hey,
should drop them down to two and a
yeah,
half, two.
and hey, if they would have got a 5 seed, they probably would have got out of the first round having to play that Lakers or Rockets.
That's true. That's true. Okay, off season. Um, let's see here. I got the Bobby Marks cheat sheet here. So they have a lot of free agents. They are 40 million under the luxury tax, about 40 million. So they got Matherin unrestricted, Miller, Sanders both on teams. We talked about Bradley Beal as a player option, and then Bojan is a team option, and then Collins is actually a free agent this year. So that's why they have cap room, is they're losing a lot of players as far as 40 million goes. Okay, what do you do? Where do you think they start?
I mean, it obviously starts with the draft. You mentioned it in the do different section. Is you just have to transition this team out to younger. Now they don't own like I think they're 28 and 29. One is a pick, one is a swap. Goes to Philadelphia. So this can't be like a hey and the rules are changing. Just like hey let's tank it out. But I think whether you have or keep Garland, I think Kawhi, while he's healthy, while there might be some teams here that want to jump up, that view him, some of these older teams that we all know of, that maybe they just want to give it one last go. And even if you're not getting top value, like to get some picks to replenish that. They also have other contracts, like you mentioned, with Bogdanovich. Like it's a team option. You can opt him in and trade him,
Mhm.
to save some other team long-term money. So I think they should just start gathering assets. You got the fifth pick and let's kind of not hard reset because they have some outgoing picks, but let's get young and try something.
Yeah, it sounds like with the possible new lot, like right, that hasn't been approved yet, but the proposed new lottery system, it's almost good to be in like the five through whatever range that to get the three ping pong balls or whatever. So like, I think if and of course they don't own their picks, so that's it. But that's a issue. But if they make trades where you could find teams like who might have ping pong balls in that area, it might actually work out. And here's the thing, like Darius Garland, I think if he's starting and he's healthy, you're probably going to win, 35 games, or, if you have a good enough team around players, because he's a good point guard. He is a good point guard. So I'm with you. I think you start just to reset, however you want to look at it, nail that fifth pick, or if you trade it down for more assets and nail the whatever pick you have. Keep Garland maybe for a year, but trade Kawhi. Maybe some of the other, like you mentioned, Bogdanovich is a good one. Lopez is on a team option. You can move him as well, and help some teams that might be looking for some because like I was looking, we're going to be talking about the Cavs, and I've been trying to do trades with them. I was doing like the trade machine with them. I'm like, they got to do player for player. They got to do this and that. But like, the Clippers, if they like could be like, hey, we'll give you Bojan. They could do Bojan basically straight up for Jared Allen. Like they could do that and um get maybe a pick out of it or something. But yeah, just look for ways to build assets and get rid of some of these guys that people are going to want that they think could help them get maybe to that next level.
Yep, totally on board. Just slowly turn it over, and like we talked about with the pick. Sometimes even if you can get the 12th pick, if the odds stay, it's still the same as if you had the third worst record. The way they are proposing to do it, so even if you're trading it to a play-in team, better odds than you had before. So whatever you could get, in this next 3-year span while they do this experiment.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if they were one of the worst teams, it might not be like if they're one of the top low teams, it might not be that bad anymore because you might end up losing that. It might be the seventh pick, and then like whatever. So yeah, interesting. Okay, long shot. Give me your long shot for the Clippers.
Long shot, I think, is just Kawhi.
Mhm.
You come up with the same teams a lot of times, like the Warriors move in and you can pick some of the Warriors picks up. I think Kawhi is obviously dependent on what happens with Giannis.
Mhm.
In theory, the Clippers could try to make a Giannis move with, this pick and some other. Wouldn't advise that for the Clippers, but I think the teams that miss out on Giannis, if he's traded or not traded, cycle back to Kawhi. So if you can get something from Miami and some picks, the Warriors and some picks, even if you're taking on less than ideal money, again, you trade them to the Heat and you get Ware, some picks and some salary filler. Great. I think that's the move to make. Garland being secondary if you go with another point guard and you decide you don't want to have 2 6'2" point guards and shooting guard.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think that I mean, I think there'll be a lot of interest in Kawhi after the Giannis dust settles because there's going to be desperate teams. I think the Nuggets could end up being interest. I think the Wolves will end up. I think Detroit has already been reportedly interested to see what Kawhi's value is. So I think there's going to be enough there. I would just trade Kawhi to whatever the best offer is and then go from there. But and I think also too another long shot just trading out of that 5 pick to a team that wants whoever's at 5 and then again accumulating more assets or whatever and getting, maybe like you're in love with 2 of the guards and you're like, hey, Kings, you can jump up to 5. We'll get one of the 2 that fall to us at 7 or 8 or whatever the Kings are picking at. So that's another long shot. It's just getting more assets that way too.
Yep.
Okay, anything else on the Clippers?
I don't think so. They're just at that point of, are we just going to keep kicking this can and, hoping Kawhi can repeat what he did last year, which, like you said, is probably one of his best seasons. Or do we cash those chips in and let's soft reset this?
Yeah, I just think it's the ceiling's been hit kind of like what I guess like even if you want to say your ceiling's like, oh, we could be a top 6 seed in the Western Conference, it's like, okay, so you're gonna play the Spurs, you're gonna play the Thunder, you're gonna play the Nuggets in the first round. Which one of those teams do you think you have a really good shot at beating? I'm like a real shot at beating. You might upset the Nuggets, but you know what I'm saying? So like I just think they have to be real with themselves at this point.
Yep. Yeah. Prior to this year, you still saw a path. Now I don't think you see a path between the Spurs and the Thunder both looking really good.
Yeah, leveling up. Okay, everybody listening, thanks so much for listening. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Grade the Clippers season. Let us know what some of your long shot trades are, whether it's for Kawhi or if you want Giannis to come to the Clippers, let us know. And don't forget to like and subscribe. You ready to move on to the Pacers?
Let's do.
Okay. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.